Hi everybody, this is a free class for all levels of English and the theme is Mexico, and we will look at an article and a video to look at grammar and vocabulary, and I think there are subtitles and captions on the video and hopefully that is okay. I can speak Spanish also, so if I need to communicate I can try to speak in Spanish. So first thing is, I hope that there's no interruption with the internet. Also, we have a dog in the house, a big husky, and he's very loud, so hopefully there's no problem with him also. If I need to go, it'll be very short interruption as well, or a family interrupt as well, that will be the case, okay? As I said, it's for all levels, for everybody learning English. I think everybody can learn a little from this video, and let's try. Okay, so the first document I want to show you is the grammar, just a little introduction to the most important topics and the most important themes in relation to grammar, because when I explain in English sometimes I mention technical vocabulary, so I want to show you some of the technical vocabulary first and the explanation. So first we have a phrasal verb. So in English, a phrasal verb is very important. It's a verb and a preposition, and sometimes they have a second meaning. So they have a literal meaning and also they have a second meaning, and they're very common in English and they're different from Spanish, so they're very important to identify and to focus on. Okay, the second one are idioms. So they're like frases hechas in Espanol, and they are very typical in Spanish also, and very common in conversation in English, very common in movies, in formal situations and informal situations. Okay, and then we move to the second section. So the first section is use of English. That's my opinion one of the most important sections when you learn a language. The second section is the tenses or the times. Okay, so for example in Spanish it's the same. You have the past simple, the present simple, the future simple. You have the past perfect, you have the present perfect, and you have the future in the perfect as well. Okay, you have the continuous, for example, estoy bebiendo, it's the present continuous. You have the past continuous, and you have the future continuous. Okay, so here is a little short explanation of the tenses. Okay, so the perfect, you have the past perfect, number 1, and you have the present perfect, number 2. Okay, there are future perfects as well, but today we just focus a little on the construction of the perfect. So normally it's the subject, I, you, he, she, we, you, they, the auxiliary verb to have, plus the participle. Okay, for example, I had been is the past perfect, and I had eaten yo he comida. Okay, I don't know if comida is the correct one, but that's the construction in English. The next one is the simple. So we have the past simple, the present simple, and the future simple. Okay, and sometimes the simple is irregular. So sometimes in the past it's irregular. For example, the verb to go in the past is I went. Okay, there's the example of the present, I like, and the future normally, I think, always has will plus the infinitive. I will go, I will eat, she will go. Okay, so they are the simple and the perfect. Next is the continuous. So for example, the past continuous, I was talking. We have the subject, I, plus the verb auxiliary to be in the past, plus the gerundio, okay, the gerund in English. The present continuous is the similar structure. We is the subject, the auxiliary verb to be, and the gerund as well. Okay, and the future is a very similar structure as well, except will be plus the gerund. So that is the concept of the tenses, the past, the continuous, and the simple. The next is the infinitive, and normally in English the infinitive has to eat, to drink, to go, to sleep, and in Spanish it's probably para beber, para comer, and it's very important just to be familiar with the technical expression, the infinitive. Conditionals are very complicated. We won't speak about them today, but it's I would like, I would have gone if. Okay, so it's usually with if. The active and the passive is very important and very interesting as well. So the active, we have the subject plus the verb plus the object, and it's the same structure in Spanish, but the pasivo transform the object first plus the auxiliary verb to be in the correct tense. So here it's the past plus the participle of the verb killed by the hunter. So remember, the participle is the tercera columna. For example, go, went, gone. So the participle is the third column. Go, went, gone. That's the participle. Okay? Very good. So that's the tenses. The next thing that's very important in every English class is just the general grammar terms and the general grammar technical vocabulary. Okay? So substantivo, or the noun, is a person, place, or thing. Article, we have the indefinite article una or un, and we have the definite article el in Espanol, or la, okay, depending on feminine or masculine in Spanish. So that's called the indefinite article and the definite article. The next one is related to countable, uncountable, but that's not important for today. Just the difference between how much and how many. How much is related to uncountable, and how many is related to countable. Okay, they are the two expressions that are important for the substantivos. Adjective, very important technical word, so important. Adjective describes the noun. So for example, pen is the noun, red is the adjective, red pen. But in Spanish it's the opposite direction, so the position is different. In Spanish it's un boli rojo, and in English it's a red pen. Okay, so adjectives are very important in English. Adverb is mente in Espanol, lentamente, suavemente, and in English it's ly, normally ly. Adjective plus ly normally. Quickly, slowly, softly. Modal verbs: can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, and would. And usually after the modal we have the infinitive without the t, without the to, and then the prepositions are very important. So these are very crucial in when you learn English as well, because we have lots of prepositions and they're very, very common. And you can see the list here. It's a long list, so we need to be careful with the prepositions always. Then more just information is the difference between this, that, these, and those. So this is singular, that is singular, depends on the position, here, there. These is plural here, and those is plural away. Okay, basically. Possessives. Okay, questions. And finally, suffix and prefixes are very interesting in English, because normally it's a clue for the form of the word. For example, if it's a verb, if it's a substantive, it's an adjective. For example, if the suffix or the sufijo in Spanish is ans, it's normally the substantivo, okay, the importance. Eyes at the suffix is a verb. Able as a suffix is an adjective normally. Ly as a suffix is an adverb, okay, and then we have the pre is before. Negative, negative, and negative irregular, okay. And then one other thing I suppose is conjunctions like linkers, however, sin embargo, aunque, incluso, so they're very important as well. Porque, desde, okay. So I just wanted to show you a little explanation there, and we can remove the flag from Mexico today, I think. And now I want to show you the article I chose for today's topic of Mexico. So here you can see, I'll just reduce the size of my camera, of my screen. So it's from the National Geographic, and it's a very interesting article, and the topic is how to plan a cultural road trip around the Yucatan, Mexico's Maya heartland. Okay, I'm not familiar with this area, and if you're from Mexico you probably are, and you know all about this, but this is a very interesting article with vocabulary, and we can analyze it in relation to English. Okay, so first my method is to read the paragraph, to read the text, and after each paragraph I will go to my notes and I will explain my notes. So here are my notes. Okay, so I have all the important vocabulary underlined in the text. and I want to explain as much as possible the grammar points and the vocabulary from my notes, okay? But first, I will read the text in the original form to practice the pronunciation, and then we can analyze the vocabulary, okay? So a drive through the Yucatan reveals natural wonders both above and below ground. Freshwater sinkholes, spectacular Maya ruins and colourful nature spots are scattered across the peninsula, tucked into the lush jungly interior. So already ya hay muchísimo palabras importantes porque es bastante alto el nivel, pero es muy fluente and es muy interesante las palabras, ¿vale? Okay, so the primera palabra is a través, through. So vamos a ver the primera página, okay? Here, so how to plan, and voy a zoom también porque es muy pequeño. So a road trip is very famous. Normally a road trip is with friends or family. When you have an adventure, a road trip, an adventure, and maybe the car and foods. So it's a very typical expression to have fun or to have a good time. It's a road trip. The heart is a corazon, and the heartland is maybe the center of the country or the most important part of the center of the country, the heartland, okay? More, so a drive through, that's a preposition, a drive a través, conducir a través, okay? Substantivo, a drive through. The Yucatan revealed, revelar in Espanol, so to reveal, like to show, similar to show. Natural wonders both above and below ground. Ground is tierra, and above is arriba, and below is abajo, okay? So below is abajo ground. Freshwater sinkholes, okay, this is very interesting and very tricky. So here on the right, I'm going to show you my notes, okay, because sometimes the vocabulary is very important, and I'll just make it bigger. So the verb is to sink, if my computer works, and in Spanish I think it's inundar. So when the boat, the barco, sink, okay, it drops, caer, the boat sinks. And in the kitchen, in the cocina también, in English, the sink is the basin, the place for the water, that's the sink. And it's possible for a company as well. A company can collapse or go bankrupt, is to sink. Okay, so a sink in the kitchen, and a company can sink, like go bankrupt. Okay, it's possible creative in relation to your dentes, inundar tus dentes entre manzana, por ejemplo. Okay, so in English it's possible to sink your teeth into the apple. That's one possibility. And here it's a little bit different. A sinkhole is a hueco in the ground, and it's where all the objects or materials sink, go down. So you have a hole in the ground and everything falls in the ground. It's very dangerous, I think. So it's difficult vocabulary. Runes, so that's very important as well. Maya runes, here on the left, the verb is to ruin, and in Spanish is arruinar. So I'll put that here as well because it is very important. To ruin is the verb, and I'll just move it so you can see. And in relation to historical or architectural situations, the ruins are the final objects of the old building or the old civilization. So the ruins are the objects that are remaining or that are left after many years, okay? So the ruins is the substantivo. But it's also possible the verb to ruin, como arruinar or memar in Espanol, to ruin a child, to ruin a party, to ruin the event, okay? It's like destroy. So to ruin the party is to like similar to destroy. Or to ruin a child is like to spoil a child, memado, okay? So a little important. And here a spot is very interesting as well, because spot is like a mancha. If you have a spot on your t-shirt, it's like a mancha, a stain in English. So there's some vocabulary here, a spot or a stain. but also it's a verb, and it's a very interesting verb, like identify. So if you are in a crowd of people and you are looking for your friend, and you look and you look and you spot your friend, you identify your friend. So it really means to identify, number one. And the substantivo is like a place, okay? So a spot or a place. Very, very common in English, and probably difficult when you learn English to understand this concept, because it's very common. So example, a restaurant, you're looking for a nice spot in the city centre, you're looking for a nice spot to have food, a nice spot to drink a beer, a nice spot to meet your friend. So place, okay? And there's another expression, to spot the difference, is like identify the difference. So there's many uses of the word spot, okay? So here it's like the place, the location. Scatter is very advanced vocabulary as well. So the verb is to scatter, and in Espanol it's como disperser, and in English it's possible as well to disperse. And imagine a lot of people, example, a lot of people together, and there's a problem, and everybody escapes, everybody runs, everybody scatters, okay? Everybody disperses. And as well with food, if you have food, you can scatter the food on, or the salt, for example, that's possible. There's an insult or a funny expression, you can say a scatterbrain is a person who's disorganized, who always forgets, and that's possible like an informal situation, a scatterbrain, okay? So it is common word and it is important, scatter. Here it is, I think in the adjective or the passive, it's the verb to be, and I think it's the adjective, so it is scattered across the peninsula. Again, tucked into is very advanced, very native vocabulary, very fluent expression, okay? So to tuck, the typical example, two typical examples, one with a shirt. So imagine my shirt is open over my trousers, so it's out, fuera, my shirt is fuera. I need to tuck, okay, to tuck in my shirt. So that's very typical with clothes, to tuck in your shirt. For example, if my collar is here, I need to tuck in, okay? Tuck is like this action. That's number one with a shirt. The second example is typical with children or adults in bed. When typical with children, when you put the child to bed, poner el niño al cama, and you need the blanket, the manta, and you tuck the blanket into the child, okay? So tuck the blanket is number two. So number one, the shirt. Number two, the blanket, and it's typical with the preposition in. And the third example is with food. So if you're eating food and you say to your friend, tuck in, that means to start eating. Really sink your teeth into the food, really attack the food, enjoy. Okay, so to tuck in is related to food, to enjoy. So it's a very native expression and difficult to understand, but I hope you try to contemplate that word and all the uses and the expressions with tuck. And here it's related to the land, so the locations are tucked in. So you have the beach, you have the coast, and tucked in from the coast you have the special place, okay? So it's that small action, tucked in. It's very advanced and very, very good English. Very impressive if you can use it. The next one is lush, like colourful, luxurious, colourful, lush, okay? And I'll get you the translation here in word reference so you're clear. Lush specifically is exuberant, rich, abundant, okay? Very, very good. So the lush, jungly interior. So jungly is very strange here because it's the adjective, okay? It's very, very strange adjective. I think it's invented, very creative, because the jungle, selva, I think, in Spanish is common, but jungly is very, very unusual, okay? So in Spanish, the jungle, selva, okay? So here's the adjetivo in relation to the jungle, okay? So it's a very long article, but we try to enjoy and try to read a little, okay? So here's the picture. Beautiful picture, incredible. A couple the man on the left, the woman on the right, and they're holding hands and they're admiring and observing the beauty of the peninsula. Okay, and it's cenote. I don't know what a cenote is, but that's what it is. It looks gorgeous. Okay, so let's look at the two paragraphs here. Okay, so I will read again the two paragraphs, and we will try to look at the vocabulary after the two paragraphs. Okay, separating the Caribbean Sea from the Gulf of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula is something of a natural playground, both above and below ground. Sitting on the vast limestone platform, a chunk of land that's partially submerged, the karst landscape and bedrock here gives way to a multitude of caves and cenotes, freshwater sinkholes and open water pools, with an abundance of tropical rainforests above spilling their vines down to picturesquely dangle above. Okay, so a little difficult. And then the second paragraph, its geological wonders aside, the area is a cradle of ancient Mayan culture, with people of Mayan descent still living and working here, preserving the peninsula's heritage. There are plenty of ancient Mayan ruins to be discovered, too many of them woven deeply into the surroundings. While the peninsula is compact, the best way to travel around the natural and historical marvels is by car, with many dotted across the region, hidden within the lush jungly interior. Okay, so here we have the same again, the lush, like very abundant, jungly de Selma interior. Okay, so let's look at the next two paragraphs, and here you can see the picture, and I'll zoom in here to make it bigger so you can see the first paragraph. So in the circle are the prepositions, and remember the prepositions are very, very key and very fundamental in English, and I identify as many as possible the prepositions, because here from is connected with the verb separate. Okay, separate from your family, separated from your friends, separated from the news. So it's very typical in this case, separated from. Okay, the playground is good vocabulary. It's typical for the children. In the park you have the area with the facility for the children to play with the objects like the swing and the slide. Okay, so you have the swing, the slide, and that area is called the playground. Okay, it's flexible. For example, Las Vegas is the playground for people to have fun, so it's a little flexible, but originally it's the area for the children to play. Okay, on is the typical preposition with sit, and here it's connected specifically to the platform. Normally preposition on is for surface, so a surface we say on my jacket, so it's a surface. On the table, because it's a surface. On the wall, okay, on my face, because it's a surface technically. And again, like yesterday, on the bus, or on the boat as well. So it's possible on the boat or on the bus, because originally the boat was just a surface and the bus was the same. Okay, the word here is very nice, a chunk. A chunk is like a large portion in relation to food. If you want a chunk of chocolate or a chunk of pizza or a chunk of something basic, it's not so common, but a chunk is a big piece. Okay, a chunk of information is a large piece of information. The adjective is chunky, maybe to describe informal, or maybe as a probably informal, possibly an insult for a large person. So if I'm very large, people maybe call me chunky, but it's maybe an insult. Okay, for example, the book is chunky, it's a chunky book. So just to be aware of the adjective. And so here is a chunk, it's a big piece or a big portion of large. Submerged is below. I think it's similar in Spanish, submerged. The pronunciation is difficult. Bedrock, so the bedrock, the bed is the cama, and the bedrock is the principal area of the rock. It's maybe the bottom of the structure. The bedrock is the most important. Okay, like the foundation. And it's possible, creative, you can say, exercise is the bedrock of my routine. So exercise is the fundamental part of my routine. I'll give you that example here. Exercise is the bedrock of my routine. So foundation, okay, so here foundation. And gives way to is a little difficult, so this probably is a phrasal verb. And you remember the introduction document, we spoke about the phrasal verb, the verb and the preposition. So to give way to is to permit the other person to go. Example, on the road with the two cars, and the two cars are entering the same area, so this car gives way to the other car, like permit. This car permits the other car to pass. Okay, so to give way to is like to allow or to permit, and here it's very similar. So it gives way to a multitude of, it's replaced or substituted by a multitude of caves and cenotes. Spilling is a very important verb. Okay, so to spill, I'll get the translation specifically for you now, because it is very, very important. To spill here with word reference is here. So the verb to spill, S-P-I-L-L, and the verb in Spanish is derramar, verter. So it's typical when drinking. If I'm drinking the water and I spill the water, okay, there's an expression to reveal the secrets or to reveal the confidential information. That's possible as well, to spill the information. And informal, it's possible to spill the beans. Okay, so to spill the beans is informal. To reveal the secrets, okay, basically that's the translation. To reveal the secrets or the gossip or the information. Okay, gossip is chisme and information is dado. Okay, so to spill is related to liquid and to water normally, and here it's related to the water spilling their vines down the picturesque. So the adjective picturesque is very, very common, but the adverb, because we have ly, it's not typical. It's very strange, but picturesque is basically very beautiful. If something's very picturesque, it's very, very beautiful, very gorgeous, very striking, very admirable. Okay, so it's picture, but here it's the adverb. And to dangle is a very advanced verb and very useful, and I'll give you a few examples. The famous expression is to dangle the carrot. Okay, and in Spanish, just so you're clear with the translation, to dangle is here, and I think it's probably very different. Colgar, okay, colgar is like to hang. Okay, it is similar. Colgar specifically is to hang in English. So maybe colgar the carrot, and it's like an incentive. So if you have the horse and you want the horse to work very hard, you give the horse an incentive with a carrot. So you hang colgar the food, or you dangle the food in front of the horse, and the horse attacks, but he does not get. Okay, so it's an incentive to dangle, and here it's similar, like colgar, like to hang. Okay, geological wonders aside, so that means apart. If we move it aside, move it away, and forget olvidar, it's a cradle. Cradle is a cuna for the baby. It's the cradle. Okay, so the cradle is the cuna, and very good vocabulary of ancient Mayan culture. Heritage is heritage is very important. It's like your history of the country. The heritage is like the patrimony, or heritage specifically here is, sorry, the spelling, heritage, yeah, I think it's similar as well. Herentia, okay, herentia, patrimonia. Plenty is very good as well, like a lot, plenty of people, plenty of days, a lot. Okay, ruins, again, the destroyed area, the part of the construction that is left, the part of the construction that remains after many, many years. Okay, to be discovered. So this is the passive. This is an example of the passive. You remember in the introduction we have the active and the passive. So the hunter killed the lion, that's the active, and the passive, the lion was killed by the hunter. So here we have the verb to be plus the participle. Woven is very advanced vocabulary as well, and here it's the preposition typical into. So the verb is to weave, and it's related to making clothes. When you make clothes, you weave. Okay, you weave the material, And in the past is the participle is woven. It's a very advanced word, and I give you here specifically the translation so you're clear. If we can connect with the internet, I think, to weave, and it's probably different again. Techer in trecher, so it's the participle. Okay, so the tercera, weave, and then woven is the participle. So very, very good vocabulary, and it's typical with the preposition into. By car is very simple, but it's one point. I have 1 point to make. You travel by car, you travel by bus, you travel by plane, you travel by bicycle. But if you walk, you travel on foot. It's irregular, one irregular, on foot. Very, very important in English, okay? So to travel on foot is correct. By foot is technically not really correct, but everybody will understand you. But really it's on foot, okay? So by car, by plane, by bus, by train, on foot, okay? Dotted is very, very good vocabulary as well. So a dot is like a mancha también. It's very similar to a spot. And the verb is to dot. So if you imagine a map, you're looking at the plano, the map, and you look at the location, and there's a restaurant here, a restaurant here, a restaurant here, a restaurant here. So there are restaurants dotted around the city, okay? So it's very colorful vocabulary, very, very good vocabulary, dotted around, okay? And here it's the same with many the marvels, the historical marvels in this area. There are many historical marvels located or dotted around the region, okay? Hidden is the participle, esconder is the verb to hide. So the verb is to hide, the past is hid, and the participle is hidden. Okay, so the verb esconder, to hide, is the verb, hid is the past, and hidden is the participle. Okay, so very, very important verb and very good. So here is hidden, and within is dentro. Within, inside, in, very, very, very similar. Okay, in, inside, within, very similar. Dentro. Okay, so within the interior. Okay, let's look at the next paragraph. So here's another picture, and it's just so incredible compared to Europe and compared to monuments and historical marvels, as they say. It's so different, and it's just so impressive, and the weather helps as well. Look at the sky, it's beautiful, and it looks absolutely stunning, it looks glorious, and if you have visited this place, you are lucky. So maybe I would like to visit one day for sure. Okay, so let's look at the next two places. Okay, so we have Laguna Rosada. So start on the north coast, a little over an hour's drive from Merida, at this shocking pink natural lagoon. The cause of the salt lake's bright colour is a type of algae that creates a rosy tint, both to the water and those who eat it, namely the large resident flock of wild flamingos here. Don't forget your camera, as well as the lake itself. The banks are scattered with spectacular archaeological ruins. Okay, so similar vocabulary again, scattered and the ruins. El Castillo. Stop off at a vendor in the city of Merida for eggs and deep fried tostadas before driving on to the ruins of El Castillo in the center of the Chichen Itza archaeological site. A Mesoamerican step pyramid rising to a height of almost 80 feet. It's the best known structure at the site. Time your visit to coincide with the equinox, when shadows cast down the pyramid sides form a golden serpent sliding down the steps. Okay, so very interesting for sure, good vocabulary. So we'll just finish with these last two analysis, okay, and then we'll move on to something different. So here we have the preposition on. So on is connected to the coast. So you live on the coast, you're visiting the coast, but the restaurant is on the coast, or the village is on the coast. So the typical preposition with coast is on. A little over an hour is like more. So over 20 euro, over 40 euro is more than. Okay, so over is more. At is for location. So the preposition in English, at, is specifically for a location. I will meet you at the cafe. I will meet you at the cinema. So at is specific location, and here it's at the lagoon. Shocking is a very good adjective. So the verb to shock is like assustar, the verb, and the adjective is shocking, like amazing, surprising, wonderful. Okay, so it's a synonym in a good way and a bad way. It's possible good and it's possible bad. So if something is shocking, it's maybe negative, but it's maybe positive as well. And in this case, I think it's possibly positive. It's surprising. So it's pink, but it's really impressive. Okay, and then a tint. I think it's related to tinta in Espanol, like color. But if you have a tint, it's like a shade, and sombra. So there's different tints of red. You have dark red, you have light red, and there's different tints. Okay, different levels of the color. And here it's the rosy tint. So there's a red, there's a rose color of the lake. Okay. Namely is probably the same in Spanish. So namely, the large. So it's like precisely. Here it's like precisely by name. So who eat it precisely by name, the large resident flock. So one bird, you have one bird, but a group of birds, I think, is the flock. Also the sheep, you have a sheep, and then I think you have a flock of sheep. So there's an expression in English to follow the flock. Okay, and it's like to follow the crowd, to do something everybody is doing. So to follow the flock is to follow the crowd, and to flock to the restaurant is possible as well. And that means everybody travels very quickly, like una prisa. Everybody moves very, very quickly to the restaurant because they have a special offer. So everybody flocks to the restaurant. Okay, so very creative English, very good vocabulary for sure, very advanced and very, very nice. Okay, as well as is también como, the lake. So itself is just for emphasis here. For example, I like chocolate, but I myself like chocolate. It's just emphasis. Okay, so here itself is just more emphasis for lake. Again, scattered, like dispersed, scattered with spectacular archaeological ruins. So very, very good quality vocabulary, very good quality English, very fluent, and a very good level of article. Okay, El Castillo. So stop off. So here we have a preposition. It's a phrasal verb, and really it's the same as stop, because probably you're on your journey, you're on your trip, and then on your trip you stop off. It's like come away. So it's connected to on, off. Okay, so stop off at a vendor. So that's related to Latin, to sell. So a vendor is like a person who sells products. And just be careful with the suffix. So or is the like doctor, director, and vendor. Okay, but a painter, for example, is E for elephant, ER. So you need to be careful with the difference between OR and ER for the person. In is for the city. In Dublin, in Dublin, in Buenos Aires, in Rio de Janeiro, in Italy is a country, but it's possible for city and for country. Okay, and here's the city. For eggs and deep fried tostados. Before, okay, the reason this is very interesting, because with the preposition before and the verb after, normally it's the gerundio. Before eating, before going, before having, before living, before driving. Okay, so after this before, the next verb normally is the ing. Okay, and here the preposition on is connected to driving. So you drive on, it's like to continue, because we say go on is to continue, walk on is to continue, drive on is to continue. Okay, so very interesting combination and very important. To the runes. Okay, and here rising, the verb is to rise, and it's the gerundio here, so increasing or growing, rising. Okay, remember the price rises, the temperature rises, and it's to increase or to grow. Okay, to a height. So the difference between the adjective and the substantivo. Alta is the adjetivo, y altura is the substantivo, and in English high is the adjective and height is the substantive. So very, very interesting. And there's a family of words like long, length, wide, width, strong, strength, a little group that you need to consider, a little irregular. Okay, and this is one example. Time. So everybody understands time. What is the time? It is 8 o'clock. But what in the possible verb? Okay, here it's a verb, to time. And for example, you need to time your trip, you need to time your class. So it's like to predict the time, organize the time, the verb. So a little different here with the verb. To time your visit, to coincide, just the pronunciation, to coincide. Okay, so the verb is to coincide, and the substantivo is coincidence. It's a coincidence. So pronunciation, coincide and coincidence. All right. Cast is very interesting as well. Cast is like throw. So if you go fishing, you cast your rod or you cast a net. So cast is throw. And also forecast is predict, because for is the future and cast is throw. So forecast. Also broadcast, the television station broadcast. Broad is amplio and cast is throw. So transmit here, to broadcast. Let me write that family here. Okay, so the cast is like to throw, tirar, and to cast your fishing rod or net. Okay, to forecast is to predict, to broadcast is transmit here for the television. Sorry, I'll just get the spelling correct there. So very, very interesting word and connection with different words as well. So cast again here is like tirar, to throw. And then the serpent is like the snake. It's the same in Spanish. Serpent is a snake. Sliding, deslizar. Okay, so the verb is to slide, deslizar. And here's the gerundio, and the steps are the pasos. So very good quality vocabulary, very good article, and I definitely recommend for you to enjoy the article, to read a little more, and to continue with that article. I think for the analysis today, that's enough, and that's very, very good. So I will close the text and I'll close the article, and now I want to show you a video. So this is a talk from TED. So this is a very famous website, and yesterday I searched for some information about Mexico. So I found this story, and it's really dramatic, it's very emotional, and it's there's a big impact in what this lady says. So I think she's a lawyer, like an abogado, and I'll show you the details. The details are here, the explanation, okay? But the reason this website is very good is the transcript. So if you click here, you have the transcript, and the transcript is available to show you the words specifically that the speaker says. So when you learn English, this page is really good to help you with the listening. Very, very good. This lady is, I think, American, so her accent is very, very American. So I know if you're from, obviously, if you, depends on your situation, if you want to improve your accent, just to consider this lady is, I think, American. Okay, so sorry, with the American accent. Yesterday, for example, we had the topic of Brazil, and the boy had a very strong Brazilian accent, just to note. Okay, so I want to explain some of the vocabulary first. Okay, so here's the script, and I just want to explain some parts of the vocabulary in my notes, and after the vocabulary I will play the video, and you can try to catch the expressions and to catch the pronunciation of the words, okay, because she probably speaks very quickly, and the level of this vocabulary is very good, similar to the National Geographic, probably, well, I think definitely level C1 or C2, very fluent, very, very high level of English. Okay, so don't worry if you don't understand everything, it's the maximum level, it's really good. Okay, this is page 1. So she says, twice a week I drive from my home near, like circa, Tijuana, close to, so near, close to, over the US border. So the preposition with the border, we say over the border or at the border. Okay, but she drives, so here over is connected with the verb. She drives from her home, and then she drives over the US border, and then also the preposition to is connected with drive also. So she drives from, drives over, and drives to her office. In for the city, San Diego. Stark contrast, that's a fantastic expression. It's like very strong contrast, a very obvious contrast. The stark contrast, very, very good combination, very advanced. Okay, and stark in Spanish, specifically here, is escueto, desnudo. Okay, very interesting. Crudo. Okay, very good word. So stark contrast, very good expression. On is connected with the side, so between the poverty and desperation on one side of the border and the conspicuous wealth. So conspicuous, I think, is similar in Spanish. Wealth is very important in English. Wealth is like rica, the rich. Okay, so wealth is the substantivo, like the rich, and adjective is wealthy. So wealthy people, wealthy area, and it's a adjective wealth. Wealthy is the adjective and wealth is the substantive. Okay, jarring is very interesting as well. Okay, so it feels jarring. So to jar is like to it's not smooth. It's the opposite for suave, opposite for calm. So if you're moving with your knee, with your rodilla, and you jar your knee, it's like impact. Okay, and here it feels jarring, like basically shocking. It's jarring, it's shocking. Okay, so it's a very advanced vocabulary, and here it basically means shocking or terrible or really sad and really negative. Okay, but what makes this contrast feel even starker is like incluso más, incluso más, and then the best translation for stark would be crudo, escueto. Okay, más escueto, incluso. So even is incluso. Pass by is like al lado. So the preposition by, drive by, walk by is like beside, al lado. Okay, so by is very important for the preposition. Those, you remember in the introduction, it's plural. So singular this here, singular that there, plural these here, plural those there. Okay, so important word for sure. Who work on, again, the border, the preposition, over the border, at the border, on the border, all possible. Okay, I think in Spanish it's only possible en border. Refer to, that's a typical connection as well. Refer to my friend, refer to the doctor, refer to. Okay, the second paragraph. The black hole is the Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, facility at the San Isidro port of entry. Right next to is like exactly next to, so it's not derecha. In this case, right means completely or absolutely. So next to is al lado, but right next to means immediately next to or absolutely next to. So very, very important use of right. Outlet is in relation to shopping. Okay, there's another expression, an outlet. You need an outlet, like a release, and let is permitir and out is fuera. So permitir, fuera. For example, you are working out all week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you are working Thursday, Friday. So Friday night you need to do exercise, you need to meet your friends, you need to relax, to have an outlet. Okay, so to release some stress, and here it's has a different meaning. So there's two meanings. One is to release some stress, and the second significance is shopping, because it's the same concept, because you have the shop in the street. For example, Gran Via, you have the shop, and then in the suburbs you have a big shop, because it's the area to permitir the más ropas. Okay, so it's the same concept really, but it's very typical in shopping. The outlet is the big area for shops, and the mall is the place to walk. So the shopping mall, and it's like the big area where you can walk for shopping. Okay. The next one is very important. Likely is probable. So it is likely to rain today. It is probable to rain. The negative unlikely, and the substantivo likelihood. Okay, so difficult substantivo. The likelihood is the noun, and the translation is the probability. Okay, but here it's likely, like probable. 800 immigrants locked in. So in is connected with the cell. So the preposition in is connected with the cell. Lock is with the door. Freezing is very, very cold, really cold. Freezing and frozen. Filthy, muy sucio, muy sucio, very, very dirty. So you have dirty, and filthy is más. Okay, very good adjective. Filthy, very dirty. Very good vocabulary. So this video is very high level and very colourful, very interesting expressions. To reach is alcanzar, so she wants to reach the girl, to contact the girl, to communicate with the girl, so she wants to reach. Okay, so it's possible communication, and it's possible to travel, to arrive, to reach Dublin, to reach Madrid, to reach a city. Okay, so it's to arrive in the city. From, again, is connected with separated from, and then her 7-year-old is juntos. 7 juntos years, 7-year-old, so todos juntos, los tres palabras juntos. One word, adjective. Okay, so let's look at the next page, and I'll just do one more, and then you can listen to the video and try to catch the vocabulary, okay, and try to understand the lady. I'm Anne, okay, so soy profesor, so en español no tienes artículo. Soy un profesor. Creo que es posible, pero en inglés es necesario. I am an attorney. I am a teacher. So the artículo, remember the introduction, the article, indefinite article, is necessary. Okay? Again, the spelling director. Director, so sometimes the person is OR and sometimes the person is ER, and in this case it's OR. We had met. This is an example of the past perfect. And remember, the past perfect is the subject, the auxiliary verb to have, and the participle. And the auxiliary verb to have is in the past had. We had met. So it happened in the past before another action in the past. That's the past perfect. Okay? So we had met, and here feared. So the verb is to fear. Miedo, very important. Miedo is the adjective afraid, pero el verbo is to fear. Okay? The verb, so very, very important. The verb is to fear, and the adjective is afraid, and the substantivo is afear. So important that you are clear with the difference between them. And here is the verb, because we have the subject, she feared, in the past simple. Here we have a phrasal verb, and you remember the documents, the explanation with the introduction of the technical vocabulary. Here we have a phrasal verb, and turn yourself over is in relation to the police. To turn yourself over to. So turn is girar, over is the movement. So from here to the police, you turn over, and yourself is, so you turn yourself over to, and that's the movement as well, over to. So prepositions, very important, but it really means to give all the information, to admit, probably to admit the crime, admit the incident, okay? To admit involvement in the incident. So very, very good here. She's turning herself over to CPB, to ask for. So the preposition is very typical, pedir por, to ask for, so important in English. To ask for chocolate, to ask for a milkshake, to ask for the check, to ask for the bill, to ask for, okay? Frantic is fantastic vocabulary as well. It's like chaotic, crazy, bedlam. So I'll give you another couple of words. Frantic, bedlam, chaos, crazy, and in Spanish specifically, frantic, maybe it's the same. I hope it's the same. Frenetico, okay, very, very similar. Agitado. So in English we say agitated as well, and frenetic I think is possible, but frantic is like very crazy, very wild. Telling us, so the verb to tell, it's necessary a person. I tell you, you tell me, I tell the friend, so it's necessary the person. Tell us. Say, it's necessary to. Say to you, say to me, say to him, but tell, not necessary to. So tell you, tell me, tell us, but say to you, say to me. So very important. And let me write just so you remember. To tell me, but to say to me. So here with say, it's necessary to. Okay? Taken. So from, the preposition from is connected with taken. So somebody has taken my bottle from me, and in this case it's more severe, but take from is the connection. You take from your friend, take from your family. Okay, matter is important. This that should not matter, should not be important. I knew is the past irregular. Special needs is the child that requires the special attention in education. Foreboding is like very worrying. Foreboding is very advanced as well. So you can see here, foreboding is okay, premonition, very worrying, very stressful, very worrying. Okay, hallmark is like a custom, something you can identify, something classic associated with. Rushed is a presa in the verb, presa in the verbal with the preposition. I rushed over to, so very quickly over to. Signed is firmar, so the verb to sign, firm, and here's the participle. Let is permitir, and after the verb let we eliminate to. Very important. I let you have, I let you drink, you let me speak. So we eliminate to. So that is so important here. Okay, let me write. I'll write here. So the verb to let. I let you drink. So it's not necessary to. No, we eliminate to. Eliminate. Always with let. Okay. And the same with other ones. You let me have. So normally it's to, but after let, eliminate. Okay. And here it's the same. So she let me speak. So eliminate to. It's not necessary. It's irregular rule. Okay, but speak to is the connection, the other connection. Even incluso. Beg is to ask. I beg, please, 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 to beg. Okay, to beg. And the person is a beggar. So to beg is the verb. And a beggar is the person asking for money or asking for help, assistance. Surreal is like very muy raro, very strange. Strolling is very good vocabulary, like walking, relaxed walking. So to stroll is walk relaxed. Relaxed walk, enjoyable walk. Very good vocabulary. And idly is like very, with no worries. If you're very idle, you have no worries, no occupied with anything. And by is beside, the preposition, strolling by, walking past. Okay, life and death is the hyphen, tres palabras juntos, it's un palabra entonces. And stonewalled is ignore. That's the very advanced vocabulary. To stonewall somebody is to ignore. To stonewall somebody is to ignore. Okay, super, excellent vocabulary, very high level, definitely advanced, definitely proficiency maybe as well, so very, very high level. Pero también la gente quien tiene niveles más bajo, espero que tienes beneficio de esto también. Vale, y ahora vamos a ver el video, ok? So I close aquí, cerrar aquí, y sí, I play the video and at the same time I put the video. Okay, I think she's playing, so let's see. Let's go back to the start. There we go. Okay, so we're back to the start and I put the video here.
She and her son would be killed in Mexico. So we prepared her for the process turning herself over to CBP to ask for asylum. A few days after she'd gone to the port of entry to ask for help, we received a frantic phone call from her family members in the United States, telling us that CBP officials had taken Anna's son from her. Now, not that this should matter, but I knew that Anna's son had special needs, and once again this news filled me with a sense of panic and foreboding that has unfortunately become a hallmark of my daily work. I had a signed authorization to act as Anna's attorney, so I rushed over to the port of entry to see if I could speak with my client. Not only would CBP officials not let me speak to Anna, but they wouldn't even tell me if she was there. I went from supervisor to supervisor, begging to submit evidence of Anna's son's special needs, but no one would even talk to me about the case. It felt surreal to watch the shoppers strolling idly by what felt like a life-and-death situation. After several hours of being stonewalled by CBP, I left. Several days later, I found Anna's son in the foster care system, but I didn't know what happened to Anna until over a week later when she turned up at a detention camp a few miles east. Now, Anna didn't have a criminal record, and she followed the law when asking for asylum. Still, immigration officials held her for 3 more months until we could win her release and help her reunify with her son. Anna's story is not the only story I could tell you.
Okay, really good. As I said, the vocabulary is excellent, the fluency is fantastic, and that's a perfect example. Well, I think she spent a lot of time, and I don't know, but her English is super, very professional, very clear, very excellent vocabulary. So the story is very emotional as well, and I recommend that you finish the story. It's very long, but if you want, you can watch it yourself and try to understand the story. So very interesting vocabulary with the analysis and the grammar. So that's a very good class today. An article in relation to Mexico from the National Geographic, a video in relation to this lady, and she's working on the border. So very good objects and topics, and yeah, and the introduction document with the technical vocabulary. So thank you very much for today. Everything is free. The teaching is free, but if you want to make a tip or if you want to make a contribution, I'll give you the information here. That's the PayPal. If you want to give just something small, that would be free, or that would be great. €1. It's not necessary, but it would be great for the future. Okay, so thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your studying and your English, and hopefully we talk to you soon. Thank you so much, and bye bye.